He stood there under the gray sky, rain mixing with the tears he refused to let fall, as the coffin slowly lowered into the earth. The woman he had once dismissed as not his business was gone forever. And in that frozen moment at her funeral, everything he thought he knew about love, regret, and family shattered. If you've ever pushed away someone who mattered more than you realized, stay with me until the end of this story, because what happened next might just change how you see the people around you. If this touches you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories that heal the heart. Alex had always been the kind of man who built walls instead of bridges. At 34, he was a successful software engineer with a steady paycheck, a sleek apartment in the city, and a beautiful wife named Emily who had loved him fiercely since college. They had been married for 6 years, and for most of those years, Alex believed that marriage meant building their own little world, just the two of them. Emily's mother, Margaret, she was Emily's mom. Not his. "She's your mom, not my business," he would say whenever Emily asked him to join her for Sunday dinners or hospital visits when Margaret's health started failing. He said it with a casual shrug, like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. Emily would sigh, force a smile, and go alone. She never fought him on it, not really. She was the peacemaker, the one who carried both their emotional loads while Alex chased promotions and late-night coding sessions. Deep down, she hoped he would change. She hoped he would see that Margaret had become more than just her mother. She had quietly become the glue holding their fragile family together. Margaret was the kind of woman who remembered everyone's favorite coffee order, who sent handwritten cards on birthdays even when her hands trembled from arthritis, and who never once complained about the daughter who moved 3 hours away for love. When Emily was a little girl, Margaret had worked 2 jobs after losing her husband young, just to keep the lights on and put food on the table. She had sacrificed dreams of her own so Emily could chase hers. And when Emily brought Alex home that first time, Margaret had welcomed him like a son, baking his favorite apple pie and listening to his stories about his own distant parents with genuine warmth. But Alex kept his distance. "I didn't sign up for extra family drama," he told himself. His own parents had been cold and critical. He figured the less you expected from in-laws, the less you got hurt. So he missed Margaret's 70th birthday. He skipped the hospital runs when her heart condition worsened. He even made excuses when Emily begged him to come sit with them during Margaret's final weeks in hospice. "Work is crazy right now, Em. She's your mom. You've got this." The guilt crept in slowly at first, like a shadow at the edge of his vision. Emily started coming home quieter, her eyes red from crying in the car. Their dinners together grew silent. The warmth that once filled their apartment faded into polite conversations about groceries and weekend plans. Alex told himself it was just a rough patch. They would get through it. But the distance between them widened with every missed opportunity. Then came the call he would never forget. It was 2:17 a.m. on a Tuesday. Emily's voice was barely a whisper on the other end. "Mom's gone, Alex. She passed an hour ago." The words hit him like ice water. He drove through the night to the hospital, his hands shaking on the steering wheel. When he arrived, Emily was sitting alone in the hallway, staring at the floor. She didn't run into his arms. She didn't even look up at first. For the first time in their marriage, she felt truly alone, even with him standing right there. The funeral was 3 days later. The church was filled with people whose lives Margaret had touched. Old neighbors, former coworkers, young mothers she had mentored at the community center. Flowers covered the altar, and soft hymns played in the background. Emily stood at the front, delivering a eulogy that broke everyone's heart. She spoke about her mother's quiet strength, the way she taught her to love without conditions, and how Margaret had once said, "Family isn't just blood, sweetheart. It's the people who choose to show up." Alex sat in the back row, feeling smaller than he ever had. He kept replaying every time he had said those cold words, "She's your mom, not my business." Each memory cut deeper. He remembered Margaret's gentle smile when he declined dinner invitations. He remembered the way she still sent him birthday cards with little notes saying she was proud of the man her daughter loved. He had thrown most of them away without reading them fully. As the service ended and everyone moved to the graveside, the rain began to fall. Emily stood beside the open grave, her shoulders trembling. Friends offered hugs, but she looked lost, like a little girl again. That's when it happened. Alex stepped forward to stand beside her, but his feet suddenly felt rooted to the ground. He froze. The world narrowed to the sight of his wife's grief in the empty space where Margaret should have been, laughing, hugging, reminding them both that love was worth the effort. In that frozen moment, memories flooded him. He saw Margaret teaching Emily how to cook family recipes in their tiny kitchen years ago. He saw her slipping extra money into Emily's hand during hard times, never asking for anything in return. He saw the way Margaret had looked at him, not with judgment, but with hope that he would one day open his heart. And he realized, with crushing clarity, that he had been wrong. Terribly, painfully wrong. Tears finally broke through as he reached for Emily's hand. She let him take it, but she didn't squeeze back at first. The rest of the day passed in a blur of condolences and quiet conversations. That night, back at Emily's childhood home, Alex sat on the edge of the bed they had shared during visits, staring at a photo of Margaret on the nightstand. Emily walked in and sat beside him, exhausted. "I'm sorry," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I thought keeping my distance would protect us. But I was protecting myself. I missed so much. She was family. And I treated her like an obligation that wasn't mine." Emily looked at him for a long time, her eyes full of pain and something else, maybe the beginning of forgiveness. "She asked about you every single day, Alex. Even at the end, she said you were a good man who just needed time to see what matters." The next few months were the hardest of their marriage. Alex had to learn how to show up. He started by sorting through Margaret's things with Emily, listening to stories he had never bothered to hear before. He helped organize a small memorial scholarship in Margaret's name for single mothers pursuing education. He made dinner for Emily on nights when grief hit her hardest. Slowly, the walls he had built began to crumble. There were setbacks. Old habits died hard. Sometimes Alex still felt the urge to retreat into work when emotions ran high. But he fought it. He started calling his own parents more often too, mending fences he had ignored for years. Emily watched him change, and bit by bit, she let him back in. Their love grew deeper, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. They learned that real family isn't about perfect relationships, it's about choosing to care even when it's inconvenient, even when it hurts. 1 year after the funeral, they stood in the same cemetery on a sunny afternoon. Alex placed fresh flowers on Margaret's grave. "Thank you," he said quietly to the headstone, "for raising the woman I love, and for teaching me, even after you were gone, what it means to be there." Emily slipped her arm through his. For the first time since the loss, she smiled a real smile. They had survived the storm and come out stronger, more connected, more grateful. If you're watching this and carrying regrets about family, about a parent you've pushed away, a sibling you haven't called, or a partner whose loved ones you've kept at arm's length, let this story be your reminder. Life is short. The people who love us won't be here forever. Choose to show up. Choose to care. Choose to make them your business, because in the end, that's what makes life rich and meaningful. Thank you for staying with this story until the end. If it moved you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below. What's one thing you're going to do differently with your family after watching this? I read every single one. We're all in this together, learning, growing, and choosing love every day. See you in the next story. Take care.